Hey, so in this video, I will be drawing the picture of Hellboy that I had up on my previous video. I decided, hey, why not actually draw the picture and not just put a picture of David Finch against what I learned from him in this course. And so this is now putting what I learned into practice. Not that it's my first time drawing heads or anything since learning from Finch, but there is something to be said about learning from different minds, and what you already know kind of becomes even more solid as a principle when you see other people doing it, or they have another perspective or way of arriving to the same point, and it just informs my mind in a better way and just gives me a better understanding. It's almost like making comparisons, or using analogies to get your point across. I see learning from different people doing the same thing for my skills. And so I'm putting in the frameworks, and initially in this video I was talking as I was drawing, but it goes for like over an hour and I didn't want to have all that time used up. I just wanted to then voice over just what my thoughts were as I was drawing. And so I was being careful with the head, and I was putting in the frameworks, or framing the head, just to make sure that things don't get out of whack and out of proportion. Because at times I know that I'll either draw the face too big for the head, or the eyes too close to each other. But by adding the frames, it just makes things better, and professional artists do this as well. It's not so much indicative of where you are in your art skills, and even if you are a beginner, it doesn't matter. Like, the point is about using whatever's in your arsenal to help you get to the finish line. This is not about a competition against someone else as to how they draw pictures. This is about how you draw pictures, and if using these frames helps you draw amazing looking pictures, then why not? And that's the reason why they were taught, I believe. So I've corrected the size of the head a bit, and what I tend to do when I draw heads now, since learning from him, and he didn't even teach this, but I realize it's better for me to put just draw the entire size of the head, and the ears tend to peek out just a bit from the edge of the head. This drawing specifically, that's not the case, but from the 3/4 drawings that I'd been doing, I had been seeing how the ears tend to just move a bit out of this circular kind of frame that I made for the head. And so if I just connect it as one thing and then draw the ear on top of it, that's a much easier way for me to see where I'm supposed to put the ear, as opposed to kind of drawing it together and then kind of connecting the back of the head. Like, the backs of my heads at this angle from imagination used to be so bad, and they're much better now because of having this level of awareness. As I'm continuing to draw, I've already put in the mouth, the nose, and I am consciously keeping myself and holding myself back from adding detail already. What I want to do is make sure that things are foundationally where they need to be, so that as we add detail on it, we don't have to get the eraser and do a lot of work. I did use the eraser at some points, even as I was adding more detail, and I was starting to get harder with the line. And so quite soon after, I'm going to start then adding in the more detailed layer. David Finch is a very detailed kind of illustrator. I do enjoy looking at his drawings. He has many impressive ones, and the ones that get me the most are not only just the character ones, but even with stuff in the background, buildings and all these things are not put in the background and just blurred out without much detail. And all these things have the level of care and love as what you see in the foreground, and so that just impresses me. And if you're someone who draws, you already know that drawing takes the time that it takes. I don't want to say it takes long, because it's in relation to what exactly, because everything takes time, right? Making movies takes way longer than it does to draw a picture. So drawing takes the time that it takes, and in the time that it's taking, seeing people being patient with themselves and adding some detail to their drawings, it's very, very, very inspiring and motivates me to do the same thing. And here I was making an illustration of how, like, I need to fix the back of the head because I felt like it was too close, especially if you look at the reference picture, and wanting to get an angle where his head, his face, his expression is kind of being viewed properly, where perspective is concerned. And so I don't know that I did a good enough job, but it's something that I'm glad I still tackled because it makes me more thoughtful about how to better approach it in another drawing. And so I've done the erasure, I believe, and beginning to add more detail now. And I'm fixing the eyes here. Maybe I'm not adding detail yet, but I know that I'm at the point now where it's detail time. I remember now. When adding the eyes, and he has no eyebrows in terms of hair, and so that part there is just shadow, and that's so cool. With this drawing, there's definitely light that's being lit on his face from the angle that we can see it, and then some shadow casted on the side of his face that we can't really see. And I'm currently learning about shading when I'm not drawing stuff like this, to help me have more control when it comes to composition and when it comes to drawing from imagination as well. You see that now this is where I'm actually adding the layer. My bad. In any case, I am learning about shading for the purposes and intents of composition and just having more control, even when I draw characters from imagination or when I want to do my comics, and just like intentionally add contrast as it tells a story in a much more effective way and from an informed way. And so knowing about shading, how to use black and how to cover something in black in a way that's true to nature, and taking creative liberties with it, just having all that information, I think just is more empowering as an artist, allows you to do so much more with that. So I'm doing that on the side, and I'm learning more about lighting, and that's me showing then the angle at where it's coming from, and even how it affects where the shadows, the direction of the shadows, and where they go. So now I'm adding more detail and taking my time with it. As you can see, like I said already, I had been speaking initially and explaining the process that way, but because it would be a really long video, I thought it'd be better to just speak about it as I'm drawing, in a time-lapsed way. At the end, I'm going to have the picture at, its appropriate angle. It's at this angle so that you can see me draw, like you can see what I'm drawing as I'm drawing it, and not necessarily having my hand cover the drawing as I'm drawing it. If you watched the previous video, you know what I'm talking about. But yeah, I'm adding more detail. I'm adding, expression lines rather, to where his eyebrows are. And this is something that David Finch does really, really well. Fun fact about him, one of his favorite artists is Mike Mignola. And he is the artist that definitely influenced him a lot, even in terms of like drawing blacks. So, where you have shadow on a character, his approach is basically kind of derived from that. And yet, when you look at their styles, they are very, very different. And so it's so cool to see just how your inspiration can influence your work and it not necessarily look like his. And I mean, if it does, there's nothing really wrong with that. But let it be an encouragement to you that, there are things that you will take from the artists that you follow, and you'll become a combination of those things. There's really no such thing as being original. And I mean, the sooner you understand that, the better it is for you, and the more you end up finding your own style, which is again, just the combination of so many other people's styles. I like David Finch's kind of art style. I like Jim Lee. We did a study of his recently, and Ryan Benjamin. I think those are the people that I can think of from the top of my mind. There's also my mentor, Patrick Jones. But in terms of like comic book art style, it's definitely those three that I can think of at the top of my mind. Jim Lee, David Finch, Ryan Benjamin. Oh, there's also John Buscema. There's also Dan Mora. I know he's not as detailed, but I do like his style. But as for the detailed people, which are the people I've been following from and just, having a look at their work, it's really something to behold. And when you decide to take on the challenge of understanding the way they draw by drawing what they draw, it can open your eyes to things like and in this video I perceived, or rather in this drawing session, that it was most likely that David Finch didn't approach the drawing the way I did in terms of sketching it down and then adding detail to the sketch and then going over it in ink. It is most likely that he did a very rough sketch with pencil and then did the rest of it in ink. If you look at just how the coat is and the way it ends, if you've watched enough of people who use ink and the way they draw and stuff, it's already enough to tell you that. So that's why I'm pretty sure the approach changes completely when you draw more with ink versus if you incorporate ink over a detailed sketch, And I know I sketch better than I ink at the moment. I definitely want to continue working on that. But if you would like to see me ink this drawing, let me know in the comments. Otherwise, I'll proceed to another David Finch drawing. It is good to explore as many drawings of the artists you admire as possible, just so that you continue to inform yourself and, start to discover the patterns, the techniques, the styles, the things that they use to achieve their result. And it's good that if you're doing it, in your time drawing and not necessarily drawing as they are drawing, you're finding your own way to get to how they got there. And I think that's way more informative than just watching them draw, even though it's good. But I think it makes you question yourself more as to how did they do this? How did they get to that? The tendency we have when we start in art as beginners is that things are more complicated than they actually are. And when you discover how much simpler certain things are, it's really like a glitch in the brain, but it's also freeing. It's also liberating. One video I suggest you watch from David Finch is him sharing his process in drawing a comic book page for an actual comic, that's going to be released. It's a very recent video, at least at this time of recording. And in the video, you see him going through the challenges of finding the right pose, finding the right type of panel. He covers, reading the scripts to then making the thumbnails and then the page layout. And then, once he's locked in on what he actually wants to draw, then he gets into it. And he doesn't finish it off in the video, but just the fact that he's sharing, that whole process, and that he's, struggling, at least, in the moment, because that's always the creative process. Sometimes things take longer than others, or just in kind of finding the right look. But, it doesn't take away from his mastery of his craft, doesn't take away from his skill set and the impressive work that you already can see he's capable of doing. I think for me, like, I'm grateful for videos like that, because then it invites aspiring artist, even like myself, who wants to do more of these illustrations and comic book illustrations, to the realization that it's okay. Like, professional artists use references. Professional artists use whatever tools they have in their arsenal to help them get to where they need to go. They go to real life to find inspiration. They go to other people's work to find inspiration. Right? I'm not saying David Finch did in this case, but even if he did, there's nothing wrong with it. There's nothing new under the sun. And then you just take it and make it into your own thing. It's really beautiful, and it demystifies a lot of what keeps people back from pursuing art and believing that they actually have what it takes. So if you had any doubt listening to this, or as you're entering into this, about whether you really have what it takes, I hope that was encouraging. I know it was for me, and it's not like I necessarily need it, but it's a good reminder, right? It's good to be reminded about the truth of these things. At times you just end up lying to yourself for whatever reason. We always want to disqualify ourselves, right, from doing what we should be doing, and that's just a war against the flesh. It's a war against, everything that does not want you to fulfill what I believe is your God-given purpose. So finishing up, I'm adding just final touches, and I did start speeding up because I was running out of time. I had a family to continue to look after, and so here you have the photo in its angle, like just in the proper angle, looking at it flat, and then I move the light away just so you can see how the pencil looks at the top. Drawing with graphite and having a lamp that bright, it's gonna affect the way it looks. And I had it on because, as you can see, what's holding up the camera is kind of getting in the way. So I do hope you enjoyed that. I was really happy to show and share that with you, and I hope to see you on the next one, whatever we may be drawing, whatever I'll be doing. Take care.